Story 1. The issue seems obvious to me. I can't believe it's not for others. Increase quality of life for your everyday average Joe. It seems most of my friends aren't having kids because of the cost of living and fear of the future. Story 2. Make it so people out of college or university can buy a house and earn a living wage. It's kind of hard to even think of having kids when one works 3 jobs to barely cover rent and food. Story 3. Infinite growth isn't possible. At some point, the global population needs to stabilize, possibly even decrease a bit if we can't be more efficient in how we handle resources. Story 4. I'll preface this by saying that I'm not college educated, and this is just a personal opinion, so please don't criticize me. The birth rate itself isn't a problem in my eyes, as much as looking at future taxpayers and workers, at least from the government's perspective. Different industries are feeling the impact, and it will only get worse as specialists get older. The government has to take many small steps over a long period of time to incentivize people to get degrees, attend vocational schools, and have a work-life balance that allows them to do these things while also truly seeing that raising a family is doable. Many people feel disenfranchised, making it easier not to pursue having kids. Create better legislation at the state level about what the state can do for you if you're interested in going back to school. Subsidize child care, child health care, and other child-related things. Make the idea of raising a family not so daunting. I'd like to think that some of the above would help. I'm aware we're seeing a decline globally in all first-world countries. I think that's indicative of some common problems. Maybe I'm wrong. Story 5. I wouldn't monkey with it. In my country, people of childbearing age are child-free by choice in record numbers. If that trend continues, our overpopulation problem solves itself, or at least moves the needle in the right direction. Story 6. Does it need fixing? There are more people who could work that aren't, more people who could have babies but can't afford them, and then there's the catch-22. I think we need to learn from the older generation in some respects. Story 7. The Economist wrote a very interesting set of articles about this, showing that most assumptions regarding the decline of birth rates in the West, which is potentially a lethal challenge to our societies, are not what you would believe. According to them, and their data tends to be reliable, the middle class has not changed their behavior, remaining just below replacement levels. The biggest change is in the working classes. Much of this is through intended sex education classes reducing teenage pregnancies and similar unwanted children. Another factor is that many more women are middle class in the sense of going to university and pursuing a career. Finally, economic hardship for the working class has increased, leading to fewer births. The solutions are going to be hard. The focus needs to be on poorer people. Housing and welfare can achieve some, but not all of the needed change, as the Nordic countries show, having previously had high birth rates but now plunging despite a reasonably strong welfare net. The second part might be cultural, finding a better coupling method for modern societies, a European marriage pattern 2.0, so to say. Involuntary celibacy and singlehood are on the rise and are likely to get worse. We need to find better ways to find love and raise families, both for financial aid from the government and cheaper access to housing, but also a mating paradigm suited for sexual liberation and equal opportunities, whatever that may be. Story 8. Cut funding to sex education and education in general. Ban contraceptives. Keep people poor. Get rid of Social Security so they need kids to care for them in old age. Basically, combine the aspects of poverty-riddled countries, the Catholic Church, and Project 2025. Or did you mean in a way that doesn't make life worse for everyone except the ultra-rich? Story 9. I don't want to fix it. Most people alive now suffer, so if fewer people are born, that would minimize the amount of suffering in the world. Until we can fix this place, it seems unfair to bring an innocent child into a divided and hateful world. Story 10. Letting more people get sterilized or have abortions if they wish to, so the world won't continue being overpopulated. In the end, it's too late. We messed it up. Story 11. It is not necessarily a problem. Population boomed and is now balancing out. However, to encourage people to have children, it needs to be more affordable. In the United States, it is expensive just to physically give birth. For the rest of the world, childcare, extracurricular activities, food, clothing, and hygiene are all very pricey. Story 12. When I was born, the human population on Earth was about 4 billion people. Only 55 years later, it's 8 billion. When you say birth rate problem, you mean you think some kinds of people in some places aren't having enough babies? And this is a problem that needs to be fixed, usually by pressuring women. But our species itself is in no danger of dying out anytime soon, except from the burdens we're putting on the ecosystem. No one has any obligation to have kids if they don't want to. Story 13. I wouldn't. We do not have one. There are too many people on this planet and not enough skilled jobs for everyone. That, coupled with artificial intelligence and robots taking more jobs yearly, we could try moving people around from other countries, but that is proving a problem too. We do not need more people. We need to think about how we are going to take care of the ones we already have. Story 14. Have rich people have more children? I mean, think about it. Birth rate decline is a problem because the general public doesn't have the time, the resources, or the space to have babies, but the rich do have these things. So, since poor people have stopped having children, the rich should increase the production. Story 15. Personally, I don't think declining birth rates are a bad thing. Humans are a bad thing, so the fewer of us overall, the better. At this point, humans deserve extinction. Story 16. Please fix the climate before adding more people to the planet. Honestly, even if the climate were fixed, I do not think scaling back on our exponential growth is a bad thing. Also, we need to address our deteriorating societies and counter the xenophobic nationalism that has surged across the globe before we expose children to it all. Story 17. I would focus on making life easier for families. Affordable childcare, flexible work options, better parental leave, and housing support. People are more likely to have kids when they feel financially stable and supported. It's about reducing stress, not just offering incentives. Story 18. There is no problem. The fewer people, the better. Fewer people means they are valued more, so higher wages. Also, less strain on resources. Look what happened during the COVID-19 pandemic. 500,000 people died in the United States, and suddenly wages and working conditions improved. Story 19. Change the societal structures that make it a problem to begin with. In the long term, fewer people is good in relation to the ecological footprint we leave on the planet as a whole. Exponential growth in consumption per capita needs to be stopped. Exponential growth in population needs to be stopped. A decline is good as we stand now. Story 20. I feel like giving people more time would make them more likely to have kids. Jobs, and we have gotten way too good at entertaining ourselves, infinite scrolling, social media, games, etc. We should work fewer hours or days. With automation, I don't see productivity being an issue, especially in first world countries. More time allows you to keep doing things you like, and it feels less of a sacrifice if you decide to have a child. Also, things like daycare and school become less of a hassle if you have more time to spend with kids. Story 21. Policies for the working class. Universal healthcare, raising the minimum wage, affordable housing, controlling corporate price gouging, and more. Make having a child more affordable. Many people would like to have children but don't because of the expense and hardship. Story 22. I don't see a problem. Advances in robotics and computers have made many jobs that a person would do obsolete. They will continue to do so. We need enough resources to take care of the elderly. Story 23. In order to get me to have children, I would need more than anything some kind of ultimate painless exit strategy. That could be as basic as a comfortable supply of high-grade pharmaceuticals to get me through the 33 years it took me to become fully independent from my parents and the ensuing lifetime following the realization that those years are gone forever, and with them, my youth. Or some complicated system of social workers and high-grade pharmaceuticals to help us cope with the separation process if we decided it was not working out. Story 24. Go back to pre-Reagan economics. We had free college, financial assistance for single parents, free daycare, and medical insurance for low-income families. Those programs lifted millions of people out of poverty. I benefited from those programs and was able to go to college and get a job that allowed me to independently support my family. Story 25. One of the biggest barriers to having kids today isn't just financial, it is isolation. Modern life, especially in urban areas, has created a nuclear family bubble where parents are expected to raise children with little to no support from extended family or community. This isolation amplifies stress, financial burden, and burnout. To fix this, we need to rethink how communities are designed. Story 26. Pay people more, make housing affordable, hold corporations accountable for the wild inflation we just went through so we can afford children. Educate people on the basics of the economy, and offer parenting classes. Story 27. Make life better for people. Combattre climate change. It's natural for a species to lower its birth rate to try and survive bad times. That's really what is happening. We need to give up on the everyone for themselves mentality and actually work together to make life better on this planet. Story 28. Give your population ample opportunity and motivation to start families. Housing, job availability, healthcare, and other factors all contribute to people not having children and not wanting to start families. Obviously, not everyone will want to settle down and have children, and that's fine. However, the significant drop in birth rates is clearly motivated by socioeconomic factors that discourage people from having children, not least of which is the cost of being a parent, just considering the logistics aside from the emotional and mental strain of parenting. Story 29. Worker-friendly policies that guarantee people a comfortable wage without excessive hours, as well as long subsidized maternity leave to make giving birth as convenient as possible. Story 30. The only way to fix it is to create a socio-political environment where young adults feel like it is both economically feasible and fulfilling. Forcing women to carry is not it. Gutting environmental regulations is not it. Keeping the working-class family dirt poor is not it. Story 31. Improve the material conditions so people have the means to have and raise children. People are lacking both time and money, two things that are required to raise children. Story 32. Legalize voluntary euthanasia for terminal disease. If you find out your brain is deteriorating and you're going to be stuck in a nursing home waiting for 15 years to forget how to swallow, no one should force you to stay if you're still aware enough to make the decision. Subsidized on-site daycare for firms with more than 100 employees at a location. Childcare credits provided to employees in firms with less than 100 employees. Any company that has done a stock buyback in the last 10 years automatically goes to the top tax rate with all loopholes closed for the next 2 years, and yearly auditing to verify profitability. Story 33. Cut education to zero, no schools or education. Make billionaires dukes and barons. Civilians are now property of the lords, with mandatory breeding programs. That, or implement a higher minimum wage, build more houses, and ensure basic needs like shelter, healthcare, and not starving to death. Story 34. Increase paternity and maternity leave to 1 paid year off. Lower the burden of entry to buying a house. Provide childcare subsidies. Implement employee protections for pregnant women. Do that and the population skyrockets. Story 35. Well, every country is worried about its own declining birth rate, especially in the West, but globally we already have enough people. If we were more globalist than nationalist, we could work together and make migration easier, for example, making it easier to get a work permit, and making other countries' education levels equal so that migrants can work in the jobs they used to do. But we aren't at that level, so I guess the countries with declining birth rates just have to accept it and deal with it. The only thing you can do is make owning a house affordable, make daycares cheaper, and invest in education. Story 36. I feel like with how the economy is in a lot of places, it makes it hard to afford a child. Also, it seems like the age for everything is being pushed later, such as marriage, having children, buying a home, and everything. Story 37. The world population is still steadily growing, but people usually talk about the birth rate problem in terms of a decrease, so you'll have to be a little bit more specific about what you mean here. Story 38. Income tax reductions have been proposed as one idea to encourage more working women to have children as a way of offsetting the decrease in lifetime earnings the average woman experiences after having a child. 1 child, 50% reduction. 2 children, 75% reduction. 3 or more children, 100% reduction. Until the youngest child turns 18. Story 39. Make the country's economy family supportive and implement policies that will encourage families to want to raise children. Animals do not reproduce when in a toxic environment. The same applies to humans. Story 40. You have to make it very, very easy and enjoyable with a high quality of life to have kids. Otherwise, people simply won't do it or will stop after having one. Affordable housing and daycare, attractive and affordable recreational facilities like parks and playgrounds, and jobs that are easily compatible with family life, such as the possibility to work part-time and the right to take long maternity leave of 1 year minimum, are essential. Story 41. Not sure it's so much a birth rate issue, but a society that is anti-maternity, anti-family, anti-working parents. Society has priced us out of having kids and does not support families who work with subsidized childcare. Story 42. Create more work-life balance so people have time to actually raise a family by supporting working parents with flexible hours and remote work options.